Joining us now on the Megacast is therapist Carrie Krawiec from the Birmingham Maple Clinic, joining us for our weekly mental health talk. Carrie, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Good to have you with us as always. And we're coming off the Thanksgiving holiday and approaching the end of the year holidays now. And this holiday season, so often when people get into the season, they're thinking about those gift giving holidays, those party throwing holidays, all of which make people then also go right back to thinking about their finances at the end of the year, because this is a very tough time of the year for so many people, and especially as you're doing holiday shopping, as you're hosting your family, as you're traveling to visit family or to visit friends this time of the year. There's a lot of financial pressure that can be put on you, and that can have a number of different mental health effects. Just how severe do we see this being a problem year after year when we get to this time, Carrie?
Sure. So there's many things at play. I think you really, start to set it up about, right. There's a lot of things that motivate people to spend money this time of year, things that they feel like they can't perhaps avoid, whether it's travel or gift giving. And then the guilt and anxiety about what they are and are not able to do may also contribute. People may try to conceal some things that are going on with them that seem like problems by putting on a big facade of perfection, which of course can involve spending money. People can have relationship issues in which they're maybe concealing spending from their spouse, something that's called financial infidelity. But it is a form of cheating just like any other and can be exceptionally damaging to a relationship. So there's a lot of things that really fuel that hyper spending. I mean, also buying things, getting things, giving things feels good. So it can also become a bit addictive, and you get a little buzz from it. But then, like any buzz, there's the after effect, which can be really damaging.
So where should people be starting when they're approaching their finances this holiday season, the way that their finances are affecting their mental health? What are those first steps you suggest, or that others in the mental health community would suggest for them to take to make sure that, when these issues do arise, they aren't causing them mental health problems or undue distress?
So I know I sound like a broken record when I say this, but one of the things that I often bring up is happiness equals reality minus expectations. So that being said, that the closer your expectations are to the reality, you're going to end up with a surplus of happiness. If your expectations keep taking it away, you're going to end up in debt. And the same goes with your finances. So the first thing I think people can do is really evaluate what makes a perfect holiday season. And if perfect isn't really the right word, even a complete holiday season, start with brainstorming what are your goals and what are the things that go into it. So is it baking with family? Is it traveling to see family? Is it buying a unique gift for each person? What are all of the features of a great holiday, and set your goals up? What's your super big unrealistic goal? What's a maybe pretty good goal, and what's like our baseline of what we probably can achieve? And then pick just a few of the things you've thought of and start there. So instead of trying to create the whole menu, look at what you have and scale to what you think you can do.
So much of those expectations come from other people. They're not your internal expectations that you do when you do that self inventory and you really look at the broad scope of things as you just suggested. So what are your suggestions in terms of dealing personally with those outside expectations, both directly with the people that may be putting that pressure on you purposefully or not, or just internally dealing with that too, to relieve those stresses before they become problematic?
I love that you brought that up. Certainly, we get a lot of external pressures, but perhaps a lot of them aren't intentional or intentionally aware of the pressure they feel. That is internal. So it is a balance between what are we assuming is the intention of someone else's expectations, and how are we assuming we'd respond if we let them know that's not really a place that we can achieve right now. And so, one thing too I often say is take time and space. Don't just give a blanket yes, to every single person or every single thing that's asked for you. let the requester know you need time and space to kind of see where it fits in the entire scheme of how you'd like to spend your holiday, spend your time, and spend your money as you're moving through this year, and offer alternatives, right? And so instead of also writing just a blank check no, consider, I can't do this thing with you. Like, I don't want to do dinner and cocktails with friends. I don't have the time or the money to allocate to that, but I'd love to take a morning walk. Would you like me to meet at your house and bring coffee and we can spend some time together that way? Like, you're allowed to make alternatives that work for you. And if they decline those, that's okay too.
We're joined by Carrie Krawiec from the Birmingham Maple Clinic on today's edition of the Megacast, our weekly mental health discussion with Carrie and the team at the Birmingham Maple Clinic. More information can be found on their website, birminghammaple.com. Birminghammaple.com is their website for more information and to get in contact with them for services as well. And Carrie, beyond all of that too, there are other people involved that can also, in these sorts of situations, that can also provide help to individuals that may be under stress, particularly from their finances and the ways that those are impacting them this holiday season. From someone on the outside looking in, oftentimes, we don't know about these issues, but in some cases, we do know that someone in our family or our friends may be going through a rough financial time. And what are your suggestions for those individuals of how they can approach a situation with their loved one, whether it be about going out and grabbing dinner and drinks with them, or traveling across the country to visit a family member or family members for the holidays in a way that is sensitive to this individual's or these individuals' situation or situations, but not condescending or a way that could come off belittling to these individuals.
Sure. I think if you are aware, now there may be many cases, of course, with the advent of credit cards, people are able to conceal at least much of their debt publicly. Privately, they may know they're carrying it. But if you are aware of something, certainly offer a range of opportunities, kind of the same thing. Like, how would I like to spend my time with this person? Shoot your big lofty goal, and then maybe offer a medium and maybe like a more basic goal. And so, right, we might not be able to achieve the whole thing, but at least it gives the other person choice of where they see themselves fitting. I mean, I think, like you said, whether it's mental illness, substance abuse, relationship distress, financial distress, all of us know at least one person in our immediate or extended family dealing with, if not one or more of those. So I think so often the assumption, if you're the person carrying one of those issues, is that you're the only one and nobody knows, or if it exists in your family, that your family somehow the only one and nobody knows what you're dealing with or going through. But the reality is that everybody's dealing with something, and everybody knows someone who's dealing with one of these variety of things. So having that just kind of awareness that that there is some barrier. It's not just a dislike or a resistance or whatever. Even if the barrier is private, it's still real and important, and shouldn't be diminished or discouraged. Should just be understood, and perhaps left as an avenue to say, look, I know you're not telling me the barrier, but at any point, if you'd like to talk about what's keeping you from traveling or this or that, I'm here to listen, as opposed to trying to strong an arm and say, oh, it's no big deal. What are you talking about? Just say, like, you know what, I can't figure out what it is, but I'm here for you if you ever did want to share it with me or needed to talk about it in some more detailed way.
More information can be found on birminghammaple.com about getting in contact with the professionals at the Birmingham Maple Clinic. You can also call them 248 646 6659. 248 646 6659 for more information. We're joined by Carrie Krawiec, a therapist at the Birmingham Maple Clinic, on today's edition of the Megacast. Carrie, a couple more minutes with you today before we'll say goodbye. As we look at the holidays, even beyond this particular topic of financial stresses and the mental health stresses that they can lead to or exacerbate. We think about the holiday seasons, and so often there's a certain magic to it. There's this fanciful nature that comes along with the holiday season, with the snow outside, with the warm feelings you get from being with family and friends. And for a lot of people, whether they are in situations where they do have their family and their friends in their life or not, for many individuals, this can be a really tough time of the year for them to navigate, and can be really stressful for them for a number of reasons, as they also do their reflecting before the, so to speak, clean slate of a new year. What do you say to these individuals, or what are suggestions that you or other mental health professionals may have for these individuals on navigating some of those uh, regular and perfectly normal holiday blues?
Sure. Yeah, there's so many things, right? Because it's also a very fast time. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
effort and a lot of energy. And then it just feels like it's just sort of gone before you knew it. And it's hard to sort of enjoy and take it all in. So there's a lot of contributors, you're right, that comparing to other people. And then certainly just, people with, say, for example, diagnosable depression. It's also a time where we start to see the onset of seasonal affective disorder, which is the depressed mood that comes from the darker days and the change in our season and our exposure to sunlight. But right, so it is a normal experience, and to keep that in mind, I think a great rule of thumb, right, is like depression isn't feeling sad when everything is sad. Depression is actually feeling sad when things seem to be happy, and you're feeling depressed anyways. And so it is normal. If you are feeling sad despite a lot of evidence to feel good, perhaps to be evaluated for perhaps a depressed mood. That being said, these holiday seasons also come with other things like loss and grief. Thinking about things that were where people who used to be present are not, or traditions that have changed, and to allow yourself time and space across the month that it's okay to have mourning, it's okay to grieve, it's okay to have sadness and memories, that all of our feeling states are acceptable. I think that's another thing that people forget, that that somehow some feelings are off limits, like we should not feel sad this time of year. I always think should is another word we should stay away from. And instead, of course we would feel sad. We don't have to feel only sad, and we don't have to feel only happy, but that the whole spectrum should be available to us at any given time. If any one is present and all of the rest are sort of taken away, then that's a cause for pause, and perhaps to speak to a therapist or a doctor, and get evaluated for treatment in some way.
Carrie, we appreciate it. Thanks for joining us as always.
Thank you for having me.